You will not in a million years believe what is happening right now. Kamala Harris is blaming Donald Trump for markets all over the world crashing. I mean, the guy has not been president for almost 4 years, man. You cannot make this stuff up. And Kamala Harris has, for all reasonable purposes, she has been the acting president for almost 4 years now, man. So she owns every single bit of our problems. And she owns this as well, man. The only thing really that has changed in the world, aside from all the wars that they're causing, is she's cut into Donald Trump's lead for president. You know, when the world was pretty sure that Donald Trump would run away with this thing, people bought. The markets were active. And now that they're not sure, they're in panic. People are panicking. The only thing that markets actually know is that they cannot make money with Kamala Harris. And I'm going to show you guys some real craziness. But first, here's what's going on.
It is a market sell-off, and here's what's behind it. First, an economic slowdown that points to recession. The housing market's in deep trouble. The consumer looks to be tapped out. Friday's very weak jobs report convinced investors that the slowdown is real. You know, it didn't help when Warren Buffett revealed he'd sold about half his stake in Apple and that he'd been a net seller of stocks for several quarters. It sends a signal when an investor of his stature cuts his stock holdings. Do you know he now has $277 billion in cash? War talk is also a factor in this sell-off. Iran is considering a direct attack on Israel. It's retaliation for the killing of a Hamas leader in Tehran last week. A wave of rocket attacks is expected. Mayors in Israeli towns have been warned about power and water outages. In Tel Aviv, an underground bunker has been publicly revealed for the first time. It is ominous. And then there's politics and the election. If we're heading to recession, Wall Street doesn't want to hear about tax hikes on corporations or the repeal of Trump's tax cuts. So here we are in white-knuckle territory. The Federal Reserve is being hammered for not cutting rates. AI looks like a bubble that's bursting. And the 162 million Americans who have a stake in the stock market are looking at a cut in their net worth.
No matter what some radical leftist propagandists tell you, I think Kamala Harris explains what's going on probably better than any of them ever could.
All that, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, that is called Bidenomics. That is called Bidenomics, and we are very proud of Bidenomics.
Yeah, so here's where we're at, man. It's actually pretty simple. You know, we have had an economy that would have been called a recession well over a year ago if there had actually been a Republican administration. But we have Democrats in charge, and their partners in the corporate media are literal experts in gaslighting. So they've changed definitions. They've ignored every economic indicator that would have historically led them to admit that we were in a recession. And instead, they focused on overperforming markets and repeatedly artificially inflated jobs report. And now jobs reports are so bad that they can't be faked. And a lot of people don't realize, man, but most of the jobs that we've seen created over the last couple of years are all tied either directly to government or tied to government spending. And another thing I think people don't usually realize is that when those jobs reports come out, you know, they aren't highlighting net jobs. They're only showing new jobs. And what I mean by that is if the government spending allows for 100,000 new jobs to come to be, but the quantitative tightening that the Fed is trying to pull off to bring down all this inflation, if that actually leads to 60,000 layoffs, well, the jobs report doesn't show 40,000. It still shows 100,000 new jobs. All of this, every single bit of this is caused by inflation. And honestly, it's caused by Kamala Harris's tie-breaking vote in the $2 trillion stimulus package, which caused all the inflation. And I think this is what is finally catching up with us. And Trump, he's already calling it the Kamala crash because that's exactly what it is. But even some of the economic journalists that don't generally seem to know which way is up, even they know exactly what's going on.
There was no business person really that close to Biden except for Gina Raimondo. So This is a nice change of pace. There's a lot of business people surrounding Harris. If you're in the stock market, if you care about your paycheck, you go with Trump. That's what you do.
You do?
Yeah, well, he wants to cut your taxes.
Oh, he wants to cut taxes.
Your taxes.
My taxes got raised enormously, as you know, under the last Trump administration.
I don't know if he wants to cut your president.
No. I'm in a blue state.
Oh, yeah, no, forget you're out.
They want to
you're
kill
out.
us.
I tried to I tried to go to.
They want to put us out of business.
Pennsylvania.
That's
it's not
what
as
they
easy
want
as
to
I
do to
thought.
us.
I can become an
They already
Italian
did
citizen more easily than
by
Pennsylvania.
getting rid of the salt tax deduction.
That might be the most spot on thing that Jim Cramer has ever said, like literally ever, man. And he's right. You know, years and years of bad economic policies and government gaslighting has led us to right exactly where we're at right now. And now, I mean, the most recent bad economic news is that Kamala Harris has allegedly cut into Donald Trump's lead in the presidential election. And the market's reacting to that, man. All over the world, the markets are reacting to that. And this is who the left actually thinks can guide us through this.
What else are you going to do to fix this problem with inflation?
All right, thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up. And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously, very seriously. And we know from the history of this issue in the United States that when you see these prices go up, it has a direct impact on the quality of life for all people in our country. So it's a big issue, and we take it seriously. And it is a priority, therefore.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is who the left expects you to believe that Donald Trump is afraid to debate. That was her answer to the question, you know, what will you do to fight inflation? And her answer, if you don't happen to speak more on, her answer was prices go up, life gets harder, we take that seriously. She said that she's learned all this through our history. I mean, honestly, man, what are these people even thinking? They really do think that they can get away with blaming Trump for everything that they can't seem to fix right now, when the guy hasn't been in office for almost 4 years. But people aren't going to believe it, man. After today, no one is going to care about any of the Democrats' identity garbage. No one cares. All they're going to see is dollar signs, man. It should be pretty interesting to watch, but that's just my take, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.